to be. No, no, but I'm coming to much more. Me, all at once the ghosts come by. They're reeling in you now. Oh, tell me why it came down. Cry, say it used to be that you and me play for all the loneliness, but nobody notices now. Oh, begging slow, I'm calling.
Live from Connecticut, it's your boy, Concert Viz 34, here on a Wednesday. Shout out to 50-degree weather tomorrow. Shout out to the Yukon Huskies men's basketball team. Shout out to the USA women's hockey team playing in an hour. Shout out to everyone in Mexico right now, eh? Free, break free. Free my dog Dodo, been locked up. Justice for Dreaming Tree. I hope it's played in Mexico for everyone out there. All right, everyone, thank you for joining. And we are here on a John Mayer concert tour debut eve. Stay tuned. I'll have some content from the show tomorrow in Albany, New York. I'll be going to see John Mayer, a beloved artist of mine. John Mayer once said before getting on stage with the band, he said, "I am who I am because of Dave Matthews." And Dave and John are two influences of my journey through guitar. Been playing since 2008. After I graduated high school, and said the chicks aren't digging the woodwinds I'm playing, and I was playing clarinet. So we got a great first show for you today. Good to see you, Granny. I see Amy as always, and then we also see Greg, aka Groton 27. So we'll talk about Greg. We'll talk about the San Fran show. We'll talk about the Minnesota show. Two main topics for tonight are going to be Dave Matthews Band in the Super Bowl. We're going to talk about some of the shows they played before the Super Bowl and this idea of people wanting to play for the halftime show. And then we also will talk about this potential new album. Yes, I believe it was yesterday. Yesterday is the 10-year anniversary of Away from the World being announced. I believe it was yesterday or Monday. Can't remember which day it was. But they essentially announced Away from the World around this time, right? The tour had already, tickets had already, been announced. And then they announced, hey, we're having this new album come. And then we had Gaucho as a single for Away from the World. So we're going to talk about, just stay tuned for that. We're going to talk about this potentially new album if it comes out, and what I'm looking for from this album versus what other people may be looking for from this album, which I think is irrelevant. So we'll talk about that. But we want to start off with Dave Matthews Band and the Super Bowl. So first, we want to see what has happened before we talk about what can happen. We want to talk about what has happened with the Super Bowl. John says, save that album for the fall. Honestly, I'd be okay if they saved the album for next year, but we'll talk about that. And just road test stuff for another year. Because even if it comes out in the fall, we're still going to get flooded with a bunch of songs from the album. And even if it's good, well, again, I'll save that for it. So, Super Bowl halftime show this year was very awesome. And what I will say is, I know most people liked it. There's always people on social media who are going to hate on it, but it was a very small minority of people that hated on it. Most of them were politicians and people from the far right. But even people from the far right dig the halftime show. It was just a select amount of people who wanted attention. They wanted to get some clicks. But this last halftime show, a couple of days ago was awesome. And we also had an appearance from members of Preservation Hall Jazz Band, Anderson .Paak, 50 Cent. We had 50 Cent out there, and he was doing his thing as one of the surprise. He was one of the surprise guests that no one. Yeah, there was rumors. People who were in the know knew about it, but obviously the general public didn't know he was going to be there.
It's 50. It's 50. It's 50.
So it was shout out to 50 Cent. Shout out to Kendrick Lamar, who was out there. Kung Fu Kenny did his thing. He was just he only had a little bit of a segment, but he is a great live act. If you haven't seen Kendrick Lamar, go see him. He's awesome. Dr. Dre, he obviously is a legend. Now, one of the things I'll say about Dre is what you have to realize is a lot of his catalog could not be played, right? That's why he played stuff from his 2001 album that came out in, I believe it was 1999, because the stuff from the Chronic is just so controversial, it cannot be played on national TV. Matter of fact, people talk about music today. The Chronic is more vulgar and more violent than most of rap right now. Same thing with Doggy Style. As much as people talk about, how rap is this, and that nowadays. No, the stuff they were doing back then,
Big Snoop D.O. Dub,
on Doggy Style and the Chronic, some of the interludes, some of the stuff that was going on. I won't, for the algorithm, just listen to it for yourself. I'm not going to talk more about it because it's very vulgar.
You know what I'm talking about?
And but yeah, so he was limited to doing what he could do. And we did have Eminem as well, Lose Yourself, which is just an anthem on Anthem of Anthems.
My name is Slim Shady.
Eminem did his thing. Mary J. Blige did her thing. Her music isn't really like Super Bowl friendly, as far as her music's all about the struggle. So Greg, Ice Cube did not go out because Ice Cube and Dre aren't cool. Ice Cube and Dre still have issues to this day. So I pretty much knew Ice Cube wasn't going to be there. Obviously, they were in NWA together, and things fell apart, and Ice Cube left and had a heck of a solo career after that. So yeah, getting Dre and Cube on the same performance stage is almost darn near impossible. There's a better chance that Boy would play with DMB than Dre and Cube. But anyway, it was an awesome show. And also, they had some session guitarists. They had Anderson .Paak, again, Preservation Hall Jazz Band. They had some great musicians with them. Don't just think, all right, they just had these people, just a big production with, just without the lack of musicianship. They had great session guitar players, some of the best hip hop session guitar players and bassists and drummers that were on stage. And obviously, Dre played the keys. A lot of people didn't know Dre could play piano, but he can, man. He's talented. That's the thing with a lot of certain rappers, like people don't give them credit. Certain producers, like Q-Tip, right? Q-Tip from Tribe Called Quest, man, he is just uber talented. And people just think all they do is rap. No, they are the sound they created, the G-Funk sound of the West Coast. They were going to George Clinton's catalog and P-Funk's catalog, and they used that as a way to sample that classic music from the past and merge it with what was going on in the early 90s. So anyway, great halftime show. You can obviously check it out online if you didn't see it. But so yeah, we had this halftime show. So people, want DMB to have a halftime. Oh yeah, Babyface is an amazing producer. And let's see if I can. I actually did a little. See if I can do my Instagram. Speaking of Babyface, not to get sidetracked here, but I did a little Babyface cover. Let's see, here it is. Here's my that's my Babyface cover there. Anyway, let's get into the DMB thing and talk about the Super Bowl. So, Greg was at this show, Groton 27, aka Greg. He was at this show and said, it was what he said earlier. You said it was stale or fell flat. Let's see, where was this? The most bland of the DMB shows you've seen. Yeah. So this has been an evolution between John, if you're still here, John was at the show in 2018 in St. Paul, Minnesota. So we have people who are tuning in here who were at these shows. So you had this show, San Francisco Levi's Stadium. This was a brand new stadium at the time that was one the newest one of the newest stadiums in the league at the time. 2016, San Francisco 49ers home. Super Bowl was held here. It's also a place they have the Pac-12 championship. Although the crowd for the Pac-12 championship, they have to, they're not filling it up. They also had a college football playoff championship, I believe, was here as well. One of the college football playoff championships was here. And so this show is pretty cookie cutter. But the thing is, this was a full show. This was not a halftime performance. This was a show on Super Thursday night before the big game on Sunday. And you have Warehouse, the Belly the Satellite. Funny the way it is. What would you say? You and me, Gray Street, Ditch, Crush, Mercy, Don't Drink. 41, Improv, Crash, Kill the Future, YM, Ants, PNP, Rapunzel. So you have 16 songs. Usually there's about 20 songs, 20 to 23 songs in a DMB full set. Yes, the show was at a warehouse, and I was actually at the time working at StubHub. So I remember people were, there were people selling and buying for this. Yeah, so it was at a random warehouse in San Francisco, Pier 70. And I believe it was a GA event. It was just a GA event from what I remember working at StubHub at the time. There were no actual, like you had to, it's just general admission, right? First come, first serve. And they did cut Death on the High Seas. It's supposed to be after Funny the Way It Is. If we look at the set list here, High Seas. And this was a song that I actually heard this in Hartford, Death on the High Seas. I believe it was one of the first times they played it in 2015. Death on the High Seas was starting to come around. In 2015, it debuted. So this is early 2016. Remember, the Super Bowl used to be the first like really weekend of February. Oh, GA with some VIP areas. Okay. All right. That sounds about Super Bowl, right? You got to have those VIP areas because with the Super Bowl, people want to have a little more space, a little more, for that area. So they have this show, and then 2 years later, they take this. This is a very cookie cutter show, and 2 years later is anything but cookie cutter in the sense. Boyd Tinsley. The night before, Boyd announced via Twitter he was taking a break from the band. Now, that break, I think, is going to be permanent. I do wish Boyd, by the way, the allegations, I'm not going to speak on those. What I will say is that I support victims of that situation. I won't speak on that in this specific stream, but anyone who has been affected or been a victim or has faced something like the person who accused Boyd, I take that seriously. My heart goes out to victims of what occurred, and that's all I'll say for the algorithm. We're not going to talk about that today. What I will talk about is the fact that Boyd announced he was taking a break from the band. I do also hope that Boyd is doing well, and I hope that he is in a good space in his life. He has to atone for what happened. And again, I'm not going to go into the legal stuff on that, and I don't fully know everything that may or may have not happened, but I did read what happened I did read court documents, but we're not going to talk about that. But the point is, Boyd's not here, and the band carries on. John Dix, who was in the chat earlier, and I don't know if he's still chilling right now in the chat, he went to this show, and this was at the XL Energy Center in St. Paul. So they moved this from a warehouse to an actual arena where the Minnesota Wild play. Another weird fact about the Twin Cities is the Timberwolves and the Wild have different arenas. And it's weird because they should have figured out a way to have one arena, but that's not how it worked. Same thing with Phoenix, which, by the way, the Coyotes, Phoenix Coyotes, they play at a rink right next to the Cardinals Stadium, and the Phoenix Suns play downtown in a basketball arena that is not large enough to fit a hockey rink on it without moving some seats. Just to give you an idea, Greg, it's, if you're listening still, the arena in Phoenix is like Mohegan Sun. So that they've had hockey there before. They had it when it first came to the desert, and they had to lift up the behind one of the baskets. They had to lift that up to fit the rink. Like when there was the cross at Mohegan, they had to lift it up. Anyway, the point is they moved it to this XL Energy Center, which was built for the Minnesota Wild at the turn of the century. The Wild became a expansion franchise. So they bring it to an arena, right? Where you can have better acoustics because it's an arena versus a warehouse where you have to really tune the sound for that unique area. And they do start off with, they do have some songs, like they do Jimmy thing, they do 41, which I love 41, but they have a Don't Drink the Water, there's Satellite, they have a lot of hits. But they also did some other things. They did a Running Down a Dream, a tribute for Tom Petty. They have a You Never Know, the first You Never Know since 2014. And Mile High Dad is in the building. If you're listening, so this is the thing, and I just want to send you my best. You and if Angie is also flying out with you, I want to wish you safe travels. What's going on is Mile High Dad from Twitter is he's in Denver and there's a snowstorm, and he's supposed to fly out at midnight Mountain Time to Cancun, but there's snow that is ongoing. So if you're in the airport, I'm guessing your flight is still scheduled, right? Because it's 8. Or no, if you're waiting, or you're waiting to fly out. Okay. Because it's 8:35 Mountain Time. But I really hope you're able to get there. But yeah, so anyway, I looked on Twitter this morning and saw, and I felt my heart dropped because there's a snowstorm in Denver Metro, and yeah, I hope it does not impact your flight, and you guys are fingers crossed that you're able to fly out. So thank you for tuning in. But anyway, they did some crazy stuff. Oh, you are flying out. Yes. Let's give a hand clap. So it looks like he's going to fly out at 12:30 a.m. It's still scheduled. It doesn't appear anything is canceled. Again, fingers crossed. But great. I'm glad to see that. We want you to enjoy Mexico for all of us, since we can't be down there with you. So anyway, there were some rarities again running down the dream. You have you never know. You have an alligator pie, right? First time it had been played since 2014. First time full band since 2013, right? So this was huge. This was huge debuts. Now, was this, talking to John and talking to another friend, Amanda, this thing was definitely a cluster of craziness, but the band really tried a bunch of different things. And you could argue if this show was good or bad and if you were there or not there, but they really took what they started off in San Francisco with the cookie cutter set. They try to do some extra things in St. Paul in a unique and uncertain time. I would still bet that if they were to do the Super Bowl next year, it would look more like San Francisco than it did St. Paul. But I think they would still do one or two songs that were rarities, or one or two, like a You Never Know, or even just a Time Bomb. At that time in 2018, Time Bomb wasn't played heavily. I think you would get, one or two songs that weren't played heavily. So these shows, right? These shows are going to be more hit centric because they are doing it at a Super Bowl host site. So you're going to have a lot of casual fans or people who just want to go out, right? The Super Bowl week, there's a bunch of parties everywhere, all across town, all within, 50, 60 miles of where the Super Bowl is being held. Like that's just how it is. So there's going to be people that just don't know the band. They're going to play these hits or songs that are more commercial friendly. But the point is, you got a full show, right? This is not a trip that you want to take if you're expecting some rarities or super rare stuff, especially with the hotel booking the flights, because you're going Super Bowl week or / weekend, right? But it's a show, right? And if you're close by, or if you want to go, you can go and get DMB in a way that is digestible for 2 hours, right? Or just under 2 hours, an hour 55 for the first show, 2 hours and 8 minutes and 50 seconds for the second show of actual song time, right? This is better than this idea that people want DMB to play the Super Bowl halftime show. Because at least with DMB, you really have to experience a full band show. I even think a festival show for Dave Matthews Band, to me, in my opinion, I know people do enjoy it, and I almost was going to go. You know what? If Sound on Sound in Connecticut was a festival show, I still would have went there because it's just so close to me, right? But to me, the best way to experience Dave Matthews Band is a solo show where they are the act, right? Even if they do a show that only has 16 songs like San Francisco, or they do a show that has 19 like the night before, it's better to have a full band show than a halftime show, than a 30-minute set, than a 45-minute set, than an hour set. DMB is all or nothing to me. I want to have a full experience with the full band, Dave Matthews Band. Dave and Tim, they can do 4 or 5 songs. I'm happy. They can do 3 songs at a festival and I would be happy, assuming that I'm going there for other acts as well. I'm not just going for Dave and Tim, which sound on sound, I'm going for other acts too. So when I go down there and Dave and Tim are the headliners, they're probably going to play a long hour and a half, 2 hours, right? At least an hour, right? I would think at least an hour. Maybe not 2. I don't know. We don't really know, but at least an hour, right? A festival headliner is going to play at least an hour. I'm going to be enjoying that, but there's going to be people before them that I'm going to also enjoy. But Dave and Tim is different. I can listen to a partial of them. I can listen to 3 songs of them as long as I like other people. But the full band is better in a full show. You can execute 15 to 20 minutes of Dave Matthews Band at the Super Bowl halftime show. You could get it done, but it would not fully show the greatness of Dave Matthews Band. And if you know me as well, I don't care about highlights. I don't care about awards. I don't care about recognition for this band. What I care about is listening to this band as long as I can live while they're still with us in the ability to tour as they are now, right? We don't have a fiddle player. Leroy has passed, but this band still is the Dave Matthews Band, right? It's still changed, but it still is DMB, right? It's not Dave and Friends. One day it may get there, and we'll have to enjoy that while we can. But right now, it's still Dave Matthews Band. Carter Beauford's on the drums, right? Dave is still playing the acoustic rhythm, right? So I just prefer this full band setup for a full show, because if you get 20 minutes, right, what are they going to play? They're probably going to play What Would You Say? They're probably going to play Crash Into Me, and they're probably going to play Ants Marching. But even so, they're going to be snippets, right? They would still sound great. They would still do great things, but it would not encompass what makes DMB great, and it would leave me just wanting more DMB. So yes, I would still watch the halftime show if they played it, but they shouldn't play it, and they haven't played it, and it's been a blessing. What other band can say they performed 2 big shows at a warehouse and at an arena Super Bowl weekend, right? There's been other acts that have performed at the Final Four. DMB has performed there, right? There's been acts that have performed at these big sports weekends, but who can say they've done the Super Bowl weekend where they had their own space and they were the only act in this specific space for that specific party or concert? I'm sure other acts have done it, but very few have done one. I don't know anyone who's done 2. There probably has been. We just don't know, right? Because they have these parties, like the Super Bowl is a bunch of parties and concerts and events, and some of these are more private, right? So Greg says it would be more of a melody of biggest hits like Bon Jovi or Springsteen did. Yeah, it would be a melody of hits, right? You may even have like a Mercy. You may have a sentimental song like a You and Me or a Mercy or something like that, just because the halftime show tries to bring you in this journey, right? It's a journey of ups and downs, and we are the world, right? And we are it's this big moment where you kind of reflect on humanity. So you would have something like a You and Me or a Mercy somewhere in there. Maybe not the full song, because again, those aren't the biggest hits, but they would hit at you would have maybe a Singing Through the Windows. Like if they played next year's halftime show, you would probably have some sort of Singing Through the Windows with the choir. That's what I would do. And I've said this, Windows should have been a single that Dave released during the pandemic with a music video of taking clips from people singing through their windows in Europe. You get the licensing for that. And they could have literally had a moment where DMB would have had their music video. You could have had a commercial, right? And you say all proceeds of this goes towards, COVID-19 relief fund or whatever. They missed a huge opportunity there. But that would be a song that they could look to play with the choir. Just, throw in 2 minutes of the song. It is a short song in the Dave solo variety, but that could have been something they do. But my main point is the Super Bowl halftime show. I know some fans want this, not all, but I'm telling you, it wouldn't be great it wouldn't be great for DMB to do the halftime show. Plain and simple, would not be a good idea. So Greg says Grace Potter did something like that. Yeah, they should have. That's a huge marketing missed opportunity. Now, again, who knows what was going on? I know Dave was performing, but it wouldn't really take much. Dave could record a solo version of that at his studio, whether he was in Seattle or the Virginia one is his bigger studio. The Virginia one, that's where Dave and Carter performed, right? That he has better access to recording equipment in Virginia. But he could have recorded it, honestly, with the way stuff is. Like, my brother is a rapper. Shout out to my brother, the Young Prophet. You can record something from your home setup, which Dave has because he's done live streams from there. He could have recorded it from there and just emailed it to someone, or you can zip this stuff through, Dropbox it, and get it to a producer, and they could have spliced it up and made it all cool. They could have done the video editor, put something in. That would have been a great idea. But again, you guys who want DMB in the Super Bowl halftime show, it's not worth it. Again, if they do it, I'm not going to protest it, but I'm just saying it's not going to capture this band, right? I don't think it's a good idea. And I think many of you guys get this. It's just every year people always are going to bring it up. People always bring up certain topics every year in the DMB community, right? When's Boyd coming? When's a violin coming back? The Grammys, right? DMB should have more Grammys. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and Super Bowl halftime is always up there. Oh, I would love DMB. Oh, I would love, yeah. Nah, they've done it right. They've done it right. The management, Capshaw, they've done it right by just saying, look, if there's an opportunity where someone wants to book us for a show, Super Bowl weekend or Super Bowl week, we'll do it, but it's going to be an actual show or private event. And the band does have some private events they do at various entertainment or Hollywood type things, right? And some of them we know about, some of them we don't know about, right? And so yeah, there's that. Speaking of Windows, I do want to talk about this new album, or what could be this new album, what could become of the new album. So we're going to go to the next topic. Now, this is what I want to talk about, and I brought this up, but I think more people should care less about the studio album recording quality and be more concerned about how these songs translate live. Yeah, so yes, they've done Outback Steakhouse, Target twice, DraftKings. Now, this was not corporate, but the DraftKings CEO, his wife's birthday at Gillette. They did Hawaii. I don't know what that was in Hawaii, but they did Hawaii a couple years ago. And then they've done, like, I believe it was somebody's wedding, or Dave was in someone's backyard, right? So they'll do different things like that. But this new album, I do not need another quality studio album sound from DMB. I want the album to be great. Don't get me wrong. I want the album to be great. I just care less about how it sounds in the studio and more about how it sounds live. Dave Matthews' solo projects and features and side projects combined with the Dave Matthews Band studio catalog, they have already given us enough studio recordings that are amazing, right? Even if the Live Tracks series ended tomorrow, they have pulled so many great concerts. And yes, there's some that they're not going to release now because they want to make this thing profitable as time goes on. We'll see over the years, just like the Grateful Dead, you'll start to see some fan coveted shows get released, as long as everything is good and as long as, even if it's the estate releasing this music, right? Just like the Grateful Dead, they just released a couple of years ago, they just released arguably the best show that they've ever played at Cornell University in New York in 1977. A couple years ago, the Grateful Dead have been passed as far as their Fare Thee Well was, in 15. And, Jerry's last show was in the mid 90s. I believe that was 95. So even after Jerry's last show, it took 20 years for them to release what's arguably their best show ever. So we're going to get some stuff. The live stuff, there's always something I would like, but they fulfill that. The studio cuts, they have given us album upon album in the studio that sounds great. Not everything in the studio sounds great, but a lot of their music sounds great in the studio. The number 41, the Rapunzel cut, the Say Goodbye, the two-step studio is amazing, right? All of Before These Crowded Streets, right? I know I just said Rapunzel, right? They've given us even busted stuff like the You Never Know, right? And all the recordings from there that were legally released. Obviously, Lily White Sessions was not a legal release. But I don't need any more of that stuff. If I get it, that's only a bonus. But I really don't care. What I care about is the live songs and how they sound live. So far, they have done a great job. I like Walk Around the Moon. The only thing, even Ocean and the Butterfly, I heard it on one of the live streams they did, and I was like, it's okay. And then I heard it at the Gorge, obviously without Carter, but I heard it at the Gorge this year, and it was amazing. It was awesome. Is it my favorite song of all time? No. But I thought it sounded great live. Right? It sounded great live. So I say that to say, so far I've been impressed with what they released last year as far as new songs and songs that were in the pandemic that they brought to the stage for the first time. I do think Windows does not hit as I thought it would, hearing it a couple of times. It still is a special moment. Like the first time I heard Windows, I believe that was in Mansfield. There were chills, right? It was like, okay, we're back to seeing DMB. This is a blessing. But after that, and even some of the recordings of it, because the way the crowd is, it doesn't hit as like it does. People are talking, yelling. I'm like, dude, shut up. It didn't hit the other times I heard it. It didn't hit the recordings from Sirius XM radio, and then I think I heard it again at another show, and it was okay. Again, it's a beautiful song, but to me, that's going to be a studio cut. But I think live, it could be improved, right? They could add, if the recording has the full band, they could add the full band in there and make it better. Greg says, I wish Bismarck. Yeah, I wish Bismarck would make a comeback too. And obviously the other great songs, but Bismarck is one that was closer, right? We've had a lot of great songs like Break Free, Break For It. They didn't make an album, but those are from the 2006 or earlier, right? We don't know exactly the first origins, but we know in 2006 they were testing, they were recording those and testing them out. But Bismarck was a recent song that got road tested that just went missing. In 2015, it was amazing, and it just went missing. 2016, it was 2016. Bismarck was 16, right? But it went missing. Never made it to 2018. So it was tragic to not get that. But I want songs that sound great live. That's the first thing. Well, number one, I want them to sound great live. Number two, the songs that are in rotation, the heaviest, I want these songs to stand the test of time. When I hear number 41 at any given show, it still hits. I don't feel that same way about Don't Drink the Water. I don't feel the same thing. Oh, yeah, Seaville 2016 was Bismarck. I get confused because they had some stuff in 15, then they added some stuff in 16, right? But the songs that are in rotation, certain songs get old when they get 20 plays. Bye you. Goodbye, right? Don't Drink the Water to me is stale. Jimmy thing, the length of it and how much is played, I go to the bathroom during it. And I think it's actually a great thing sometimes in certain shows to go to the bathroom, relax. I know I have 15 minutes, right? But certain songs don't stand when you're playing it night after night after night, and you're going to be playing it for year over year over year. Certain songs don't hit well because it just, when you hear it so many times, it doesn't have that same lasting effect. And that's hard for every artist, to have a song that stands the test of time. And most artists that don't mix up their set list, to have a song that just always has that energy. Like when I go see John Mayer tomorrow night, Slow Dancing in a Burning Room and Gravity are two songs that just, he plays it almost every show, but it's going to hit. But Jimmy Thing's not going to hit, at least in my opinion, right? Some of the newer music doesn't hit when it's been played so much, right? Like You and Me. I don't need You and Me. Greg says, Shake Me. Yeah, Shake Me Like a Monkey. If it was only played like, and it isn't played as much anymore, but if it was only played like once every 5 years, Shake Me Like a Monkey would be special. Oh, and yeah, Greg, you went to those Big Whiskey you in '09, so you saw a lot. They played Big Whiskey, and I wasn't even going to shows. I remember when Big Whiskey came out, but they played Big Whiskey out like they just wore it out. They ran it into a ground like a running back without an O line. Like they ran it into the ground like Barry Sanders. Like that, Big Whiskey like just retired mentally in people's heads because a lot of the song, not I still think "Line in the Hands of God" is a good song, but a lot of those songs were ran into the ground. And I have friends that were going to those shows when Big Whiskey came out, and they got it nonstop. Warehouse is a song that still stands the test of time. And Warehouse has been almost since the beginning of the band. Warehouse still hits, and the stop time intro that they added back this year just made it even better. But the point is, there's certain songs that hit, and there's certain songs that only hit, but they stand the test of time. They get played 20, 30 times a tour, and they still are special. A lot of the 2004 songs, like Sugar Will, they played it almost every night. Busted Stuff in 2000 was played, I think it was played every night of Hartford in 2000. But Busted Stuff is a great song, right? JTR was played a lot at the turn of the century. Great song. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for a song. Dave cannot get back to his prime writing, right? It's not going to happen. I'm just looking for songs that hit well and play after play still reign supreme. And let me give you some modern day examples, just to be fair, just so that I'm realistic. I'm going to give you some modern day examples of songs that I liked, even though they were played or road tested. Bismarck, Greg brought up. Bismarck is a song, and I think in the moment too, I liked Bismarck, but we didn't appreciate it that as much because we thought it was going to just be around, and it just disappeared. People still loved it, but you're like, oh, Bismarck, this is awesome. In the moment, you cannot appreciate it, but once it was taken away, you're like, hey, this was even more phenomenal than I thought it was. Bismarck. Black and Bluebird is another example, in my opinion. May not be for everyone, but for me, Black and Bluebird, what made that great is it was acoustic percussive greatness. Dave's guitar was heard over Tim. Dave's guitar was a primary thing in his sliding of his hands for that song, which, it's finger style, just like like a One Sweet World has a little more of an acoustic vibe. Grace Is Gone, like it has that more acoustic percussiveness. It was there with Black and Bluebird. And then Virginia in the Rain. Virginia in the Rain is an amazing song. Yes, Dave played it acoustically. I heard it at the Gorge, but the full band version was great. Tim was awesome on it, right? His effects, like they fit into that song like a glove. Dave's parts, right? His everything, the aura of Virginia in the Rain was perfect. But they stopped playing those songs. And that's the other thing is too. These were songs, Virginia in the Rain and Black and Bluebird are the two songs that were new on Come Tomorrow that really, to me, could have stood the test of time. Obviously, Idea of You is a classic that they brought back because it was on Come Tomorrow. That's another song that really can be played a lot. Obviously, the greatest versions of it were earlier on than it is now. Greg says Cornbread in '07 was nuts. I think of that and the idea of you. I saw every show for 2 years. See, I didn't. I wasn't at those shows. Cornbread now is hit or miss. The Cornbread from Hartford, I believe it was 2019 or 2018. I think it was one of those years, 18 or 19. It was solid. I think it was. I'm leaning towards 2019. I love that one, but then I've heard it some other times in recent years, and I haven't been a fan. I feel like because it's all about the tempo of Cornbread. Sometimes it sounds great. Other times it just seems like it goes to nowhere. You do have jamming from Tim, and he does a great job on that. But sometimes I'm just like bored with it. Whereas I could listen to a Seek Up intro from the Leroy Moore era, and it's going for 5-10 minutes, and I can listen to that all day. So the Cornbread is hit or miss. But I'm sure those '07 ones, yeah, because that was a more rawer time with those songs. And I know like the Shotguns from '06, like there's certain songs that were better, and just Dave was feeling it. And yeah, I agree. Dave and Tim Cornbread is better than full band Cornbread. I would agree. And I just oh yeah, Dave did ad lib more, right? With in '07, he had more of that the ad libbing and had more lyrics than he has now. Now it's more there's more playing, but I don't like. I would rather not have Cornbread than have it in 2022. But those are examples of songs that were road tested, stood the test of time. If we go to Away from the World, I look at Drunken Soldier, Broken Things, and The Riff. Now, some of these songs, they were hit or miss because they didn't play Broken Things as often, right? And I heard it at MSG. I mean, not MSG, at Mohegan Sun. At Mohegan Sun, we got Broken Things. And we could have got it if Jeff didn't get COVID. Who knows? I mean, obviously they did. Ben the Sax guy still did a great job. They played some rarities, but I wouldn't be shocked if Jeff was 100% for MSG. If we probably would have got another Broken Things. They played at Columbus, they played at Mohegan, and I'm pretty sure it would have been played. But Broken Things, it's not always like the sharpest song live as far as if you really judge how it's played. But I just love it. I don't care. I love that song live. So Broken Things, The Riff, and Drunken Soldier. You can throw in Snow Outside, right, as well. Just a beautiful song, acoustic set and electric set for those years of Away from the World. These are songs that, to me, are great songs. But the problem was a lot of these songs that I'm mentioning weren't played as heavily. That's why it's important. This new album, we want the best songs to be played. I want Madman's Eyes to be played frequently still. And you can be like, hey, well, last year, Madman's Eyes did get some plays. It did get some love. But we've seen Dave even bring out a Bismarck in 2016. In 2018, we don't have Bismarck even being played. We don't have Black and Bluebird even being played. So even though we just had a great summer of new music, we've seen songs go away. And that's just in the last cycle. I'm not even talking about '06 and '04, right? And Greg says it's the Lily White effect with Away from the World, I feel. Yeah, oh, absolutely. And it's a difficult thing to judge because we're not there. But Lily White pushed this band. But I also did hear rumors or chatter that like Lily White with Away from the World also did make them do like a bajillion takes. Like he was and same thing with Lily White sessions. Like he was just pushing this band to the brink. Like he just kept saying again. If anyone's ever seen Miracle, with it's Kurt Russell is Herb Brooks. Recipes of Herb Brooks. legendary coach for Team USA hockey and in the NHL and college hockey. But they kept, like, you see them in Miracle. Herb Brooks makes or Kurt Russell playing Herb Brooks makes the team skate over and over and over and over, and they're just like throwing up and they're exhausted. And I can see how Dave may have gotten exhausted from Lillywhite. At the same time, that type of work ethic that Lillywhite has, even if it's absurd and crazy, it got the best out of Peter Gabriel. It got the best out of Dave Matthews. It got the best out of so many artists, right? And to me, it may have been a breaking point. Dave in 2012 or 2011 may have said, look, dude, like I'm not 1998 before these crowded streets, Dave Matthews, or 97 or 96 or 95. In the mid to late 90s, they were in the studio often with Steve. He may have just broke them. And Dave's like, look, I'm married, I have kids, I'm pushing 40 at that time in 2011, 2012. I'm in my 40s. I can't do what you used to do. Like, we can't have this like brutal relationship where you have us do 50 million takes. I'm too old for this ish. I think that's what may have happened. At the same time, Lillywhite still made a heck of an album in Away from the World. And to me, Away from the World production-wise, in some ways, is better than Come Tomorrow. Although Come Tomorrow does have some good moments, Away from the World is more just, it's a better studio album. And I'm not looking for a studio album. That's the other thing, too. I'm saying all this great stuff about Away from the World. I'm looking for a great live product. The tracks could be butchered for the studio album, but if we get a great set of live songs, if an album does come out this year, that's better than anything. It's better than anything, plain and simple. But I do think that Lillywhite pushed them. But the best parts of this band are when they are pushed, whether it's Leroy Moore, who could actually get to Dave. That's the other thing, too. Leroy Moore and Steve Lillywhite are two people that Dave would actually respect, even though they got on his nerves. And Leroy passed. Lillywhite, kind of parted ways for a second time after Away from the World. He was at my first show, May 25th, 2012, Hartford Night 1. He was there like as a cheerleader in the crowd watching this band premiere some of these songs from Away from the World. But after that, he's gone. And again, the band is older, right? They're feeling human, right? They were so superhuman for decades, and they've really had a rigorous tour schedule. And they dominated it, and they killed it. They were doing 3-night stands, and I was talking about this on my Fish video, or maybe not my Fish video. I was talking about this somewhere. But Fish is a band that is less, like, when they play, it's effortless. They're playing scale. Like, they're still geniuses, but they're not sweating on stage like Dave is. But Dave did 3 shows in a Hartford, and then 3 shows at a Deer Creek, and then 3 shows at the turn of the century. And Greg says, my dream was always a Dark Side of the Moon stylist DMB album, which tells a full story. Oh, that would be awesome if they had one of those like concept albums, and even some of the prog rock has that, right? You do have that in the, the Who have Tommy. You have Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd, obviously one of like an album that I listened to Dark Side of the Moon during my first full marathon. I listened to it front to back. My second marathon, I listened to Time, Us and Them. Those were, and I think another song from Dark Side of the Moon. But yeah, I would love that from DMB, because a journey would be great. That would be one thing the band could do that they haven't done. Have an album that truly is this like, concept album, which is more about the instrumentation than it is about the lyric. You would still have lyrics, obviously, but the themes and the journey would be awesome, right? It's a full story. And to me, Come Tomorrow falls flat. Like, it wasn't Come Tomorrow wasn't a full story, but it was kind of like the song Come Tomorrow was not executed well. She was not executed well, right? She is just a horrible song, right? I think Come On is about 75-80% great. But there's still stuff to me that Come On kind of misses. I love the song. Like, I loved it live when it was played, but I still feel like it's missing something. And the crazy thing is, I say that, and then I listen to a Batson Sessions song, and I think the song is so complete. So, and Come On was on the Batson Sessions, but some of the Batson Sessions songs are more complete than Come On from those same sessions. There's something missing from Come On. And I agree, Greg. Yeah, Come Tomorrow is too just disjointed. And I was like hoping, I was really rooting for Come Tomorrow to be like a response album to Away from the World, which in some ways it kind of is. Like, Away from the World is just a better executed album. It's not as disjointed. And Come Tomorrow is a mix of stuff. You have Leroy Moore, and you have solo stuff, and you have Dave does That Girl Is You, and it's like he's building all the parts up by himself without anyone else there, without any input. There's been a lot of music recently that Dave will orchestrate, and then the horns put parts on it. I don't like. I listen. I love you, Dave. If you're watching this, Dave, or management, I love you guys. I don't like the idea of layering horns, sax, and trumpet on top of what Dave is doing. I would much rather have a process where you have input from Rashawn, input from Jeff, and then you make a song with them there in mind. Not, hey, this is what we have. It's 75-80% done. Put some horns and sax on it. I think that's not a good strategy for this band, respectfully. And again, you guys won Grammys. I have not won a Grammy. I have done nothing close to Grammy work, but that's just my opinion as a fan. As a fan that can give you feedback, as someone who, just like many of you guys, goes to all these shows, buys the records. It doesn't matter. I'm buying the new album. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. I'm gonna buy the album. If you want someone like that, listen to me, right? Listen to some of the people like Greg, right? Listen to John Dix. But I don't like this idea that they just, and it's been talked about that the band has just, they have this, like, Dave does a lot on his own, and then they come in, he says, here's what I have, put some horns on it. And I know some of the stuff may have been like that back in the day, but nowadays I don't like that idea. And I actually would like for everyone to be there so that they could be like, hey, you know what? This song doesn't need a trumpet right here. Actually, it doesn't need a trumpet for 90% of the song. So we're not going to write trumpet stuff because we feel obligated to include Rashawn. Rashawn can orchestrate everyone else and have a little bit of trumpet here. That's what a team is. Sometimes a point scorer is going to have a rough night. Someone else stops out. Oh, Greg says the band, I don't think, hangs out anymore. I agree 100%. When there are tour breaks, you see Jeff Coffin going to Nashville. You see Rashawn may go somewhere else. You see Dave and Carter, right? They might do some stuff during the pandemic. They had some stuff. Stefan is in his own little world, and he's talking to people on social media. He's also talking to his musician friends, right? He has a lot of friends outside of DMB. He's doing shows with his friends. Yukon Cornelius hasn't done one in a minute, but he did, he's done that before. Yeah, the band is definitely separate. And I think the other thing too is the band, they all have their own lives and they have their own why. Like, not everyone, but they some of them do have spouses and children, and they're really trying to be there for them. And what I'll say is that if like that is all, I want that to be I want them to be okay in their personal lives. Same thing with Boyd, even though, again, I won't go into what I think about Boyd as far as the allegations, but I do hope that, especially since this was settled, right? This was a settled, like, his situation was a settlement. There were right? You could debate, could there have been criminal threat, whatever. And again, I will say this first and foremost, I support victims of what happened and any sort of victim, adult or child of certain situations. That's all I'll say. But I want this band to be okay in their personal life first. That's why even if they don't have if they can't make an album, right? If this is not working out, even though they invested in strings and I'd rather them don't put it out. Delay it. If you need to delay it, delay it. I'm not pressuring this band to release new music. If they want to put it out, that's their prerogative. But I do not want to rush product. Not when Dave is worried about taking care of his nephews and nieces, taking care of his children, taking care of his family, right? I want that to be first. Just like when Boyd stepped away, I thought it was the best thing for him and for the band. He needed to get right, and I know he's still battling certain things right now, but I just wish the best for him. But yeah, they are definitely, that's a great point, Greg. Like they really, you can see it, right? You can see it. They all fly out in separate directions. And not even that, it's just other things. But when they're together, listen, one stage, they're a band and it works. It does work for them, right? 2021 was a great touring year. But they do not have that downtime they had in 98, right? Or 97 or 96, when really they were doing like, they didn't have families like that. Obviously they had family, but their families have grown and they're valuing that part of it. And I think and I know like Greg, you're a football fan. Look at the divorce rates on some of these head coaches and assistant coaches. Look at what happens to Tony Dungy's child or Andy Reid's child. And they're different situations. Again, I don't want to get into all that, but you look at like certain professions and people's children, they could have a mom and a dad married, but if the father is a coach or a CEO or like, it's like if they're at the office, they do get afforded many great luxuries of wealth. But if their parent isn't present, you can see them go down some dark paths. And, some of it is the choice of that child, but some of it is, when your father or your mother is doing all this stuff, you see it, especially in NFL. And yeah, Greg says that's why McVay is going to look to retire, right? He's only a couple. McVay could have went to elementary school with me. That's how close we are in age. He's what, 36, I think now, and I'm 31. We could have both went to the same elementary school, and he would have been obviously higher up. But it's crazy to think, right? And yeah, John Madden retired young from coaching and had a lot of fun. Broadcasting's different. As an average Joe, broadcasting is extremely hard. But when you're going from a head coach, college or NFL, to broadcasting is nothing. I will say that. I grew up on the same street with John Butchercross from ESPN. Listen, I'll tell you, like seeing the times that he leaves and the times that he comes on, like when you watch a Sports Center, I would see him leave to drive to work. Then I would see Sports Center and I would see him come back home. His ex-wife was my babysitter, right? And I know other people in production side of stuff for ESPN and other networks. It is not easy being people make fun of the NFL broadcasters, and some listen, Joe Buck, I know why people don't like him, but it is extremely hard to do that job. Yeah, 18-hour day versus 10 hours. Yeah, right. And really, I would say, well, broadcasting also can be, it could easily be 12 hours, especially now with these podcasts and side projects for YouTube and all that. But I'm a communication major, so I've done different things and I've visited different places like within my degree, even though I never went into TV production, and I actually avoided journalism when I was in college. I ended up adding a business minor because I just kind of I did not want to, I respect journalists, but I did not want to be a journalist in 2008, 2009, as I was my first 2 years of college. it didn't seem like it was for me, but I liked that degree. I liked advertising and marketing. So I had business and now I'm in insurance, right? I do insurance. I've done different types of insurance jobs and I'm still in it and I love it. I love it. So it all worked out. But anyway, I've been to University of Maryland journalism camp, right? I've been blessed and afforded opportunities, but so I know like the grind is hard. But anyway, the point is, it's easier to be a TV personality for an NFL show than to be an NFL head coach, especially NFL baseball. You know, the baseball manager, you have certain tasks, but you're judged more about your decision making in the moment. And you can't really practice, you can't really prep for that other than really just have you either have it or you don't. But for football, you have to look at film nonstop. You have to look at scouting, all this stuff. So yeah, anyway. So I do hope I say all that to say I do hope that I want the band to be okay in their personal lives first and foremost. If that means they have to take time off from touring, if they have to, not tour as much, I'm fine with that. I want them to be okay as people. So, but I don't want them to rush anything. I don't want them to rush. I understand like some people do want a new album. I get that, right? I know some people don't want this album to be scrapped, right? They want to get new content. Me personally, I'm about the live, and that's for DMB. There's other acts that I would love new albums from. And there's other acts that a new album comes out. I care more about the studio version than even how it sounds live, because I only may see them live one or two more times in their career. But that studio album is going to be workout music, right? That studio album is going to be stuff I have as part of a soundtrack to my life. So I want the production to be there, especially like for hip hop. For hip hop now, there's certain acts like a Kendrick Lamar. If it's good live, it's good live, right? He's a great live performer, but I want that studio version to be like just awesome, right? I want it to be lights out. So I do understand people look for different things in bands. Bastille just came out with an album. They're like a pop act. I care more about their new album, how it sounds in studio versus how they're going to do it live, because I know they're not like they're a great live band, but it's more about the energy and it's more like a club type feel of their shows, not a amphitheater feel. So it's a club type thing. So I know the energy, even if the song isn't my favorite, it's going to have a lot of energy. We're going to be all jumping up and down and going, yeah, and awesome. And yeah, Bastille, woo, oh, 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 oh. So like, it's going to be, but the studio tracks are going to be what I run to. The studio tracks are going to be what I listen to on drives, what I'm listening to when I'm sitting back at the crib right here. So it does matter how they do it for Bastille, right? I want their studio albums to be great. And Greg says, I want one good last epic album to hold up. Yeah, I would love them to that's why I said, get it right. Get it right. Finish on the high note. Now, if they want to do stuff after that, B-sides, whatever, that's fine. But I just want one last hurrah. I want them to tour with it. And I really want to feel an album where you're like, yes, this is an awesome album. I love this album, and I'm glad that I'm experiencing this tour. They're going to play out parts of this album that they may never play again, but I'm going to love it. And I think about John Mayer, The Search for Everything. The Search for Everything was a great tour that John had, and it was really like arguably his best. It was a landmark moment for John Mayer, who's 10 years younger than Dave. Plus, it's like, so Dave's a January baby and John Mayer's an October baby, but Dave Matthews John Mayer is at his Away from the World right now. He's in 2012. So he had an album, The Search for Everything, a couple years ago. And it was like, 2017. So it was almost like, it was pretty much like if Dave released the Batson sessions, that's what The Search for Everything was. It was such a breath of fresh air. It was not a stand up. It was more of if they released the 06 stuff in an album, and it just gave new life to the tour. And I wanted to hear these new songs live, and I wanted to hear the old stuff live. And it was just a tour where, yeah, he was playing and he started adding more set list diversity in that tour. He was inspired by the Grateful Dead shows he was doing with Dead and Company, and he started doing more diverse. And then he started doing an acoustic set in the middle of the show. Not just one. He used to do like one or two acoustic songs. He was like, no, I'm doing like a full segment of the show in an acoustic setup, right? And he would do like 3 or 4 songs. He did a trio version, like where it was just, now the difference is the trio is going to have much more space and it's going to be much more rawness. So he had a whole trio section of his concert for the Search for Everything tour, and it was amazing. You got this raw, bluesy, raucous type feel for a section of that show, and it was probably one of the coolest things I've seen from John Mayer. Is he had a trio show in the middle of his full band show. So I want that type of thing for DMB where it's like, hey, I'm searching for everything and I found it in this album. I'm not going to compare it to Before These Crowded Streets. I'm not going to compare it to Crash. I just want a standalone album that really hits us all where we need it. And then we go on that tour and we're like, yes, they're playing 5 songs from this new album, but this new album is awesome. That's all I want. So there we go. That's what I have for now. I think one thing I'm going to look at for Saturday is talking about the warehouse ticket confirmations and some of the complaints from some of the day one warehouse fans. But I'll table that for next time. Shout out to Rab Stevenson. I had a conversation. He contacted me. We had a nice talk on Instagram Live. He video chatted me. And I'll just say it was a pleasure to talk to him and just kind of listen to him for a little bit. And but I really appreciate him speaking with me on Instagram. He saw, because I tagged him about Sound on Sound and DMB and Brandy Carlisle and how he was vocal coach for all those people, how awesome he is for the band. And yeah, so then he hit me up. And thank you to Granny. I think Granny was explaining to him, Sam Jones, Granny, who I don't know if she had to drop off. Granny was messaged him too because she knows him. Say, hey, oh, this is Mark. It's Concert Viz 34. And this is what he stands for, and he's awesome. And I think after that, that's why he called. He ended up calling me. So it was really dope. Again, just great candid conversation about things, and like I said, I appreciate it. Nothing groundbreaking that I'm going to talk about from that conversation. Just just general talking about it. Talking about different things, what's going on, how I feel about what I love about this band and what he loves about his job. So just cool stuff we were talking about for about 10-15 minutes on that's that Monday. Yeah, it was really a great surprise and really appreciate him. So hope everyone is doing well in Mexico. Hey, stay tuned. I may try to see if we can get some people to call in for after every Mexico show. But I am doing a lot this weekend, so we'll have to see what happens. But I'll try to see if we can get a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I will be again. I'm going to a concert Thursday, so just stay tuned, and we'll definitely be looking at some Mexico coverage though. You'll get some stuff from me. I'll try to get some people on the video chat. I know they're having the time of their life, so I don't knock anyone for not wanting to call into this show if you're enjoying your life on an awesome vacation. So everyone out in Mexico, be well, be safe, look after one another. Make sure if you see someone that feels uncomfortable, if you see someone that's being harassed, that you stand up for them in Mexico, because we need to look after one another and make sure people are being respectful, especially with all the alcohol out there. Not that I'm not knocking alcohol, right? I drink, but I know sometimes when these type of things where people are drinking all day, you get some creeps, you get just 1 or 2 people that are crazy, or without alcohol, right? There's just some people that aren't respectful. So hopefully everyone's looking out for one another, keeping each other safe, walking with people who may be by themselves, so that everything is good down in Mexico. Dave and Tim should do a heck of a job down there. They never disappoint. The set lists out there are always amazing. They get a lot of surprises. And I've heard great things about the trip. Yeah. And thank you, Amy. Amy, always on. Thank you, Greg, Granny. And it looks like Mile Dad had to go to the airport. I see that. So thank you. And thank you, everyone else. Hit the like button. If you haven't, hit that like button, click it, thumbs up. It helps me to get more exposure. And again, stay tuned. I'll have some John Mayer stuff in the next 24 hours that'll come on the channel. And then again, we'll look at Mexico. We'll look at some other stuff. Definitely on Saturday, maybe on Friday as well. And maybe I'll try to get on Sunday. We'll see. Stay tuned. And with that, we are going to end on blackjack here. We'll get the blackjack from the Batson sessions. Let's go USA Hockey. I'm about to turn on my YouTube TV and watch, or Peacock. I got both of those. Olympics are weird. You got to get all this stuff just to watch everything. But I have Peacock, thankfully, because of Comcast. Get some sleep. Amy, I'm going to get some sleep at like 2 a.m. I have tomorrow off, so I'm going to sleep in. But I'm going to watch the USA women's hockey game. Let's see. I can even see. Let's see. If you are up, I know you're an hour behind us. Amy out there in Iowa, so it's 10:30 there. But if anyone wants to stay up, the USA, let me see if I can find it. Should be on my dial here. Look, the USA women are playing right now. Well, it looks like it's on. Let me mute this. I don't want to have any algorithm issues on my phone. I think it's on NBC. Looks like they have it on NBC. Oh, Canada's up. Yes, on NBC. Your local NBC affiliate should have, barring, it may be changed. I don't know, because the West Coast, sometimes they have the news and all that. But it looks like they have the game on NBC. Canada is up 1-0 right now. Canada is the better team. I saw these I saw, not young ladies, some of them are. I saw these women play in Hartford. They did an exhibition match, and it was awesome. But Canada is a better team. But if we have the heart and we have the grit, we can beat them tonight. We can come back and beat them. I have faith that we can. So anyway, that's the show. Going to close out with Blackjack from Batson Sessions here. Have a wonderful night.
give up, you don't survive.